Have you ever noticed that after someone hurts you, you don't just struggle with pain, but you begin to start changing? You stop trusting, you stop loving, you start serving and praying the way that you used to. That's because Satan wasn't just after a situation, but he was after your heart. Today, we're going more in depth on the breastplate of righteousness and why Paul tells us to protect the very place that the enemy loves to attack. Let's get to it. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Kicking It with LeLe. If you're new, welcome. I'm so glad that you are here. On this channel, we are talking about spiritual warfare. We are in the middle of our series on the armor of God. And today we're going more in depth on the breastplate of righteousness. Last week, we talked about the difference between conviction and guilt and how the enemy uses that to accuse us because of our ignorance of the difference between the two. But today we're going more in depth. We're going to find out why the enemy loves to attack our heart. Let's get to it. The breastplate wasn't made to protect the hands and feet of the soldiers, but it was made to protect the heart, the lungs, and other vital organs. Spiritually, the breastplate does the same for us. It's made to protect our heart, which is our vital organ. The heart is a part of our soul, and the Bible tells us to protect our heart with all diligence. Why? Because the enemy wants to wound our love, our joy, our peace, our compassion, our faithfulness, and our confidence in God. Once the heart is wounded, bitterness begins, unforgiveness begins, offense begins. We also begin to distrust the people that's close to us. Isolation begins to set in, and eventually the relationship with God begins to suffer. Proverbs 4:23 tells us to guard our heart because everything that we do flows from it. This verse right here connects perfectly with the breastplate of righteousness. Everything flows from your heart. If the heart is unprotected, your words change, your worship changes, your relationships, and your decisions begin to change. Now, since the beginning, the enemy has used the same strategy. He lies. And in order to get you to believe his lie, he may use rejection, betrayal, church hurt, cause divorce, make you feel abandonment, criticism, false accusations, and disappointments. Not because he cares about you or he cares about those events, but what he does care about is what those events produce in our heart. Many people think that righteousness just means I'm forgiven. And that's true. It does mean that we're forgiven. But righteousness also means living in a right relationship with God. The breastplate of righteousness protects the heart because a heart that's close to God is hard for the enemy to poison. Now, let me ask you a question. What has been sitting in your heart that God never meant for you to carry? Is it bitterness, offense, shame, jealousy, or maybe even resentment or fear? Listen, we don't protect our heart by building walls. I know this is what's taught today. You have to protect yourself, self-care, self-love. But this is not true. This is not the way that you protect your heart, by building up walls, a fortress in your heart. This is incorrect. The way that we actually protect our heart is by putting on Christ's righteousness every day. Forgiveness isn't saying that what happened to you is okay. Forgiveness is refusing to allow the enemy to use your wound as a weapon against you. Every day, the enemy is looking for an unprotected heart. Scripture tells us that he goes around like a prowling lion, seeking whom he can devour. Remember, his aim is to kill, steal, and destroy. But when you put on the breastplate of righteousness, your heart stays soft towards God. Even when life has been hard to you, don't allow your pain to become your identity. Let Christ protect your heart by putting on the breastplate of righteousness. Before you leave, I want to ask you a question. What has God been healing in your heart lately? Please put it in the comments because someone that's watching this video may need to hear your testimony. You may be the person that they have been waiting on to help on their healing journey. If this message encouraged you, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so that the algorithm know that you like the content that you received when you come here. Remember, I upload every Wednesday. Each week, we will go over a piece of the armor. The first section will be what the piece of armor was used for, my testimony of living without the armor, and then the third section will be strategies of how I began to put the armor on. And then the next video that goes with the piece will be more in depth of that piece of armor. Last week, we did the breastplate of righteousness, talking about guilt and conviction. And today we went further in and we talked about why the enemy wants you to have these feelings to keep you away from God and living the life that He created for you. You guys be blessed, and I'll see you next Wednesday.